Hello and welcome to the 2022 MMP training video. This video has been designed to help counties, municipalities, and regional government agencies who provide residential curbside services report to the Municipal Measurement Program in Re-TRAC Connect. If you are a state, county, or other regional government agency seeking access to the data entered into the MMP, please visit municipalmeasurement.com or contact us at mmp@retrac.com. Let's begin by first explaining what the MMP is and why it exists. The Municipal Measurement Program, otherwise known as the MMP, is a free program assessment and planning tool that provides solid waste management agencies with access to powerful analytical reports designed to measure waste diversion and help improve program delivery. The MMP was designed to standardize the measurement of material management programs and provide participants with decision-making tools that can improve overall recycling program performance. In this video today, we're going to show you how you can access the MMP resources and assistance. So we're going to visit the municipalmeasurement.com website and review some of the links and information available to you there. On that page, we're also going to show you how to join the MMP. So if you haven't already become a member, you're going to find out a little bit more about the benefits of participating, as well as how to apply. Once you've applied for the MMP, your application will be reviewed and you will be approved based on the information provided, and you will be given you'll receive an email with a link to set up a password and create your Re-TRAC Connect account. So on this session today, I'm going to show you how to log into Re-TRAC Connect and how to access the MMP surveys. As we are reviewing the surveys, I'm going to show you some tips on how to complete the surveys, how to save your data. So you can save your data in draft form, and I'm going to show you what happens to your data after it's been saved. We're going to highlight some key questions within the MMP, as well as review some of the analytical reports. So once your data has been saved and marked complete, you'll be able to access those reports. Throughout the training as well, we're going to show you how to access help. So whether it's technical assistance or if you need to contact the MMP team directly, I'll show you the various locations within the system that you can do that. Of course, if you still have questions after watching this video, you can always reach out to us at mmp.retrac.com. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to navigate now to the Mmp Main Page. So here you're going to see the URL across the top of the screen. So it's www.municipalmeasurement.com. And this is the MMP resource page where you're able to see the benefits of participating as well as different resources. So on this page, the first thing you'll see at the top here is your application to apply. So again, if you have not applied for the MMP, please do so here. You'll be asked some preliminary questions, your application will be reviewed, and you'll receive an email from the MMP team if your application is approved. So the MMP was designed by the Recycling Partnership and Re-TRAC Connect in order to create a centralized database of local government program information that states and counties and regional agencies can use to improve recycling in the U.S. There's lots of benefits to participating in the MMP here, so you can look at some of those, as well as down below, it describes how the program works. So if you're a municipality, a county, or a regional agency, and you deliver material collection programs, go ahead and apply to join. You'll be able to complete surveys within the system, which I'll show you here in a few minutes, and then be able to generate numerous analytical reports. If you're a state, county, or regional government and you want to have access to the information entered, then there's more information available to you here. Click the Learn More to find out more about that. Across the top, then you're going to see some other links. So here, if we go to the Participate in the MMP page, again, here's some benefits to participation. So you'll be able to measure your program performance, benchmark your results against other communities or members in the MMP, as well as discover tools and resources to help improve your programs. There's the link to join once again. And down in the bottom of this page, you're going to see some examples of the analytics that are available to you once you've completed the MMP forms. Benchmarking is a big part of our analytics, so you'll be able to see how your municipality compares with other MMP participants. You'll be able to calculate, based on your recycling tons reported, your economic benefits of recycling. Participating in the MMP year over year will allow you to start trending your analysis, so you'll be able to do trend reports on tonnage as well as diversion rates, pounds per household, and other metrics. Program recommendations will be available to you based on how you answer the questions. So we've worked with leading industry organizations who've developed tools and resources. So based on how you answer a question, like for example, if you say that your community does not participate in contamination control activities, then a program recommendation will be available to you, letting you know how you can start participating in those activities. You'll be able to measure different things like pounds per household for various programs, environmental benefits of recycling, annual tons per program, per capita tonnage, as well as comparing your pounds per household to the US national average, diversion rates, and some really interesting program summary infographic blocks will also be available to you. So all these reports will be available once you've marked your surveys as complete. If you are a state or county or regional government agency looking for access to data within the MMP, click here to find out more. To the right of that is where we're going to see some additional resources. So data is very important for us in the MMP. Here you can find out about our data transparency documentation, our data verification protocol. So the Recycling Partnership works with us at Re-TRAC Connect to verify data once it's been completed. So here's some information on what they're looking for in that data verification. This is for state governments if they're getting started with working in the MMP. This guide here is really important for participants. So this is one I want to highlight here for you. If you are a county, regional agency, or a municipality, and you want to participate, then you can click here and it'll open a step-by-step guide on how to participate. Promo kits are available for government agencies as well if they wish to do some promotion. Training video links are updated yearly here, as well as a link to the US Census Bureau data. So that's information about the programs and resources, or about the MMP program and about the resources available to you on municipalmeasurement.com. So let's go now and log in to Re-TRAC Connect. So again, once you've applied to join, your application will be reviewed. It'll take 1 to 2 days for that approval process. And you'll receive an email when it's approved and you'll be able to log in. So here's the login, the URL where you'll be able to access Re-TRAC Connect. So it's connect.re-trac.com. You'll want to save that, mark it as bookmark it, so you'll be able to access it easily in the future. And when you log in, first thing you'll be asked is to provide an email address. So you're going to want to put your email address in here. This is the email address that you would have used during your application process. So whatever email you use to apply for the MMP, you'll put that email in here and click next, and you'll be given the option to enter your password. Just want to highlight a couple of links here at the bottom of this page. If you're curious about your terms of use, or our terms of use, your privacy policy, and as well as accessing support, there's these links down below. So feel free to use those as needed. Now, I want to log in, but I don't want to go into the live system. I want to be able to enter data today and show you some data. So I'm just going to go into a test site where I'll be able to use some fake emails and kind of enter some fake data. So I'm just going to switch over to another page. It's going to look exactly the same, but it's going to take me to my training site. So I'm going to go there. So when you log in, again, you're going to want to put your email in. So the email that I am using here is MMP test at, there we go, and I go next. And here I'll be able to provide my password. And if you don't know your password, you can click on the Forgot Password button right here. So when I've logged in now to the test site, it's going to look a little generic. It's just going to say hello MMP, but you know, this would be your name. So if you had actually joined as yourself, you would see your name up here, and you're going to see the programs that you've joined. So this is called your home page. It'll always take you back to the initial screen that you see after you log in when you click on the home button. So up here on the top left-hand side of the screen, you can see your home button. As you're navigating through the system, if you find yourself in an area and you want to get back to home, just go ahead and click home and it'll take you back to this page. Now in the programs that I've joined section, the MMP will automatically be here because you've applied for it. You may or may not see other programs in here. So perhaps maybe you report to another program within Re-TRAC, so you might see other programs in this block. But if you only report to the MMP, that'll be the only one you see. There are lots of programs that are offered through Re-TRAC Connect, and if you want to find out more about those or browse some of the programs, you can click on the Find Programs button here. Over to the right, this is our support page. So this is again where you can access support. When you go to the support page, you're given some knowledge base article information. So here you can look at the different knowledge base articles. Or if you're just looking for articles for specific topics, then just type in a topic, like for example, MMP. And here you'll see the Municipal Measurement Program resources, and here are the guides to participation. Down at the bottom of the help desk or help request support section is where you can request support from either the MMP team. So if you have a question about the MMP, a question about the forms, about the data that's being collected, anything about the actual entering of the data, then you go ahead and click this and a form will come up asking you what your question is, click send, and it'll get sent to the program manager team here at Re-TRAC Connect for the MMP. And if you have another question, for example, you're getting an error message or you have an issue with your login or something like that where it's not a program related question, it's more of a technical support, then click here and again, fill out your question and subject line and such, and our technical support team will be notified. So that's our support section. To the right of support is a notifications area. Sometimes you might see this little bell turn red. If there's a notification, notifications might be sent out if there's a new blog post, for example, a marketing post, or maybe a planned service outage or something like that. So keep an eye on that. And then to the right of the notifications, this is your user. So the user that I'm logged in right now as is called MMP Test. This would be your name, obviously. If you ever need to edit your user information, clicking on Edit User will open up a screen where you can change your first name or last name if needed. Perhaps you need to update your email address or change your time zone. I just want to point out here, though, that the email address that you see here is the email that I use to log into the program. So if you do update this email address in any way, please make sure when you log in next time to use the new updated email, because this email is tied to your login. So it's very important that you use the correct email when you're logging in. At any time, you can change your password. So if you want to update your own password, go ahead. Clicking the Change Password button, you would enter your current password and then your new password. Just want to note about passwords. There is a minimum character limit of 8. So you can have 8 or more characters in there. Passwords are case sensitive. So if you do use capital letters in your password, make sure to use capital letters all the time because it is case sensitive. There's no requirements for using symbols or numbers within these passwords, so it's up to you if you want to use a symbol or a number. Just the only minimum requirement is 8 characters, and passwords in here do not expire. So you're not going to have to update the password at any time. Unless you want to, you can come in and change it yourself. Okay, I'm going to go back to the home page now. All right, so now that we've talked a little bit about Re-TRAC navigation, let's go ahead and show you what it looks like once I've entered into the MMP. So when I click on this tile, it will take me to the MMP program. And what I'm going to see is my members page. So a member in Re-TRAC Connect is a reporting entity. So for the MMP, a member is a county, a municipality, or a regional government agency who's delivering curbside services to residents. So typically, a single user represents a single municipality or county. So for the MMP, it's very common that there would only be one member. There might be the odd instance where a user reports for multiple municipalities, and so they might see multiple members in this page, but typically it's one member per user. Just over on the right-hand side, I just want to point out again, as we're going through all the different ways that we are here to help you and support you through the process of filling out the MMP. So here is another link that will take us to the program support request. So instead of going to support and having to find the MMP support, you could go right here, fill out your question, send it directly here to the MMP team. If you do have multiple members in here, if there's quite a list, then you can always search for your members. So just type in the name of the member you're looking for and it'll do a search, or you have the option to export a list of all the members. But again, it's rare that there would be more than one. The last thing we can do on this page is edit the member information. So here I'm representing the city of Springfield, Ohio. And if I need to edit any information related to that, I can do that here. So right now, for example, I've got a very generic contact, but maybe I want to enter in a different contact person. So this would be the person at the municipality to contact, their job, their email, phone number, that type of thing. So I can add or edit any information I need in here related to the member. Maybe your office has changed locations and you need to update address information. So you can use the Google Maps option here, type in the address, or you can just change your address here manually. So it's just an option, update that location information, and you can go ahead and click save, and that will save that information for you. So from the members page, if you want to actually start reporting for this municipality, so me representing Springfield, Ohio, I'm going to go ahead and start filling out some of the MMP forms. So just click anywhere in the bar here and click on the arrow, but you can click anywhere in this bar, and that will open up the forms for the MMP. So this is called your Workspace. The Workspace is where you're going to see active surveys for the program that you're in. So here I'm in the Municipal Measurement Program for Springfield, Ohio. My Workspace contains active surveys, so I can see all of them here. So I am a municipality, or I'm representing a municipality in this training, so that's why I see about my municipality. If I was a county that offered or provided services for residents, curbside or drop-off services for residents, then I would see about your county. So the surveys that you're seeing on this page are going to be related to the type of member that you are. So as mentioned, a county member might see slightly different surveys than a municipal member, but very, very similar to what you're seeing here. So there are 3 surveys that we call required, and this is the About Your Municipality, your Curbside Program Assessment, and your Drop-Off Assessment. There's also some optional surveys, such as the Public Space Assessment and the Processing Facilities Assessment. So the first survey, the About survey, asks questions about demographic information and different education and outreach activities that you might perform. The Curbside Assessment asks questions about the number of households that are served by each of your programs, questions about your MSW curbside collection, your single-family recycling, curbside collection, your multifamily recycling, your food and yard waste or organics collection information, and just some questions about those programs, including tonnage, that type of thing. The drop-off asks how many drop-off sites you have, what types of materials are accepted, and of course tonnage. Public space will ask different things about your public space trash cans or garbage cans versus your public space recycling. You'll have the option to enter in tonnage collected through public space programs if it's available. That tonnage will roll up into your diversion rates and all the different calculations in the analytic reports. So if you've got tonnage for that program, it'd be really great to get it in there. The processing facilities assessment asks questions about how these materials are processed. So all the information above is how it's collected and how much is collected. And in the processing facilities, it's like, well, what happens to it? How much of those recyclables are actually recycled, and how is the compost composted, and how is your MSW landfilled, and that type of thing. The processing facilities assessment is actually important for you to be able to print the environmental benefits of recycling report, which we're going to look at in the analytics later on. So I'll reference that survey again when we get to that section. The last thing here I'll highlight is the program instructions. So over here on the right, this is just a little block, just another option for help. Takes you to a link to the training video, of course, a link to our help email, and just some information about the program. So as I mentioned, the active workspace is showing you what you need to complete for this active year. So you can see I've already done some work in this form. For the 2021 form, I've already completed that. It's marked as done. For the curbside assessment, it's in the status of new, which means I haven't started it yet. In the drop-off assessment, it's in the status of draft, which means I've started it, but I haven't completed it. So you're going to notice these buttons will change from new to draft to completed. And I'll show you here in a minute what verified is, but that will change status based on if you've saved the form, how much left is to complete, and so forth. Now, there might be members in the MMP who've reported for multiple years. So I'm using a city here that has reported for previous years. So if you ever are curious, you can go here to the year range, and it'll open up the historical information. So for the city of Springfield, they started reporting in 2018. And you'll notice that 2018 and 2019, here's the forms they filled out, and they're marked as verified. When a survey is completed, the TRP, Recycling Partnership, would then go in and verify the data. So using that data verification protocol I referenced over there on the municipalmeasurement.com website, they verify the data and they mark it as verified. 2020 data has been complete, but the TRP has not yet verified that. And then, of course, I've now started 2021, and you can see the different statuses. That was the same as the active workspace. I just want to point out here that if a survey is marked complete or verified, that you as a reporting user will not be able to make changes. So as soon as it's marked complete, it's considered locked and you're not able to change it. If it's draft, you can go in and change whatever you want. Or if it's new, obviously nothing's been entered yet, so go for it. But if it's marked complete, you cannot make any changes. So if you've accidentally marked it as complete and you realize, oh no, I need to make a change, please reach out to us, send us a note, we can unlock it for you, we will put it back to draft, and you can go ahead and make the changes that you need. So I'm going to go back to the workspace here. Now, I'm going to go through these different forms. We're going to talk about some questions, highlight some items here for you. And I'm going to start with the About Your Municipality. So even though it's marked complete and I can't make any changes to it, I can still show you the questions and we can still review some of the hints and tips for this survey. So up at the top is the name of the survey and the year that we're collecting data for. And there's survey instructions. So again, another resource available to you as you're completing the survey. You can click on this and you can see the survey instructions. So just some highlights here and some tips. There are required fields in the system. Anything marked with a red asterisk you're going to see here is considered a required field. There's going to be hints and definitions within the forms themselves. You'll see those presented in orange. You're going to be able to, at any time when you're completing the form, save a draft. So I'm going to show you how to save a draft of the next form, the Curbside form, here in a few minutes. Once all the fields are entered and all of your required fields have information in them, you'll be able to mark your survey as complete. Marking the survey as complete unlocks the analytical reports and lets the partnership know that your data is ready to be reviewed. There is an option to export these surveys at any time. You can export all of your questions and answers, but you can't do that until you've saved the form. So this little export button that you see up here in the top right corner will only be available to you after you've saved your form. Okay, so this is a member who has reported for multiple years, and one of the advantages of that is that some of the questions are going to populate from year to year. So you only are going to need to update the questions if they're different, or the answers, I guess, if they're different. So in this example, although it's marked complete, I can't really change anything. But in the next example, you're going to see how that pre-populate will work. So the first question that it's asking me is about my municipal classification, or if I was a county, my county classification. You're going to be asked your population numbers, and this is going to be used to calculate your per capita tonnage reports. Some information about your biggest waste management challenges. So you're going to select the top 3 challenges here. You'll see that not all questions are marked with a red asterisk. So that one is, which means it's required, but the one previous regarding the seasonal population is not required. So if you didn't fill that out, this system will still let you save your response. So a lot of the questions on this page are not required. It's just good information. You can say yes, no, or I don't know if you're not sure. Just scrolling down here, all the different questions. This is actually a really good question. Is your municipality involved in developing or delivering education and outreach programming? So if you say yes, then the system's going to ask you all the information about your education and outreach activities. Had I said no, it's delivered by another agency, then it would have given me an option to enter that other agency, or maybe no, nobody gets education and outreach materials. This would actually prompt one of those program recommendations that I talked earlier about creating effective communication for education and outreach. So if you said no to this, then when you print your program recommendations report, you would get a link and reference to how to create effective outreach materials for recycling. So we're just going through here and answering yes or no, or checking off the boxes as they apply. Here in the education and outreach activities, it's going to ask about your budget and staffing for the program, as well as what types of activities you engage in. So here you're just going to select one of these options. Here, the first one is related to advertising. The second one is related to promotion activities. If you select other, then you're going to be given an option to enter in some free text on the type of information there. The last section is about digital content and social media marketing. Does your municipality support other agencies? If you say yes, you'll be given an option to enter in how they support other agencies for promotion and outreach. And of course, another box where you can type in, other information you'd like to share. So tell us your story about your education and outreach. The last section is just a little bit about your organization, if there's any SWANA members, if you want to share any data with any of our participating organizations. We work closely with these organizations each year to improve data collection and fine-tune how data is collected. So if you did want to share your information with them, just select that. You would enter in your name here, certify that information is collected, and you're almost done. This section at the bottom is where you can tell us about your experience. If you care to, you can fill out the agree, disagree questions and let us know how you think these forms can be improved. So again, we want your feedback. We want to hear about your experience. If there's anything we can do to improve, we'd love to hear it. So please take a moment and fill that out if you have it. So I'm going to go back to the workspace. Now, that was a form that was already completed, so I couldn't show you how to save it, and I couldn't show you that repopulate feature just because it had already been completed. So I'm going to go into the next survey now, which is a little bit bigger. This one here has a few more pages in it, a bit more data to collect, and this one will allow me to save it because it hasn't been started yet, and I'll be able to save a draft and kind of go in and out. So that's what I'm going to do with this example. So when I click the new button, the residential curbside program assessment will open. Over here to the right, again, we have our survey instructions. So please feel free to review those. Over just above the top of the survey instructions, you're going to see the different pages. So this survey contains 6 pages. We're starting here on page 1. Now, I opened it in a new form, from a new status, and this question was already answered for me. So this is an example of, if you participate year over year, how some of the questions, not all of them, but some of them will pre-populate. So the first question is, do residents in your municipality have access to any services? So it doesn't matter what the service is. If they have access to curbside collection services, MSW, single family, curbside recycling, organics curbside collection, any service, say yes. If you say no, then this survey gets very short. And there's not a whole lot more that you need to do other than click save and move on. So let's go ahead and say, yes, we do have services and the types of questions that follow. So curbside services in this program are really a lot of times focused on single-family household collection. So here what we want is to know your definition of single-family households. So your single-family household program might run up to units of 1 to 4. So for example, if you have 4 units within your building, but you still qualify for your single-family collection. Anything more is considered under your multifamily program. Maybe another service provider is used for multifamily, obviously different containers, different service characteristics. So here we want to know what your single family household characteristic would be. You may or may not collect collect from single family households in mobile homes or RV parks, but if you do, you can select those options. And here is your definition of multifamily. So if my single family program collects or runs for households up to 4, then anything greater than 4 or at least 5 or more would be considered a multifamily program. This next section is going to ask us, based on the definitions above, what my household numbers are. So based on the definition of anything between 1 and 4 units being a single family, then that's my household number for single family. And here's my household number for multifamily. If you're not sure, there's a link here to the census. So you could open up the census, go to your state. A search button will show up here where you can just type in the name of your municipality. And you can use the chart here to determine what your household numbers are. So this will contain, of course, your population number, as well as household numbers here for the various housing characteristics. So in this example, if 1 to 4 is in my single family, then I would count these together. And if it's more than 5, or if I include mobile homes, then I would add those numbers in and get those get the numbers to populate into that previous screen. There's some questions on this page here also about if you have a pay-as-you-throw program, if you offer bulky waste pickup. If you say no, obviously you don't get as many questions. If you say yes, we're going to want to know what kinds of items you accept. If you click other, you can put in other items, or you can put in exceptions to your service, your bulky waste service. Again, all of these populated from last year. So maybe last year in bulky waste, I didn't have tires, and this year maybe I do. So just, use the answers from last year and modify them as needed to represent this year's or the 2021 collection. Here you can say, is there a fee? So maybe in 2020 there was no fee, but 2021 we started charging a fee, $20 per pickup. So you can enter that. Now, when you click save, the program's going to look at all the items that have a red asterisk and look to see if there's anything entered. And if there's nothing entered in for a field that has a red asterisk, then it's going to tell you that there's an error, and it's going to ask you if you want to fix that error. So I'm just going to show you how that works. When I click the save button, it said it found one error. I have two options. I can find and fix the error, so I can go there, click and confirm, and actually enter in something here. Or I can save it as a draft and move to the next page. So then what it would do is save page 1 as a draft and move me on to page 2. I'm going to go ahead and fix this error, and I'm going to say that I also collect e-waste through bulky waste pickup. And just by entering something here and clicking save, it took me to page number 2. So up top, you can see page number 1 is green. Green is good. Green means it's been saved. There's no errors. There's no further information that needs to be updated or changed. If you need to, of course, at any time, you can go back to page 1 and you can change some information, or I can just go now to page 2. Page 2 collects information related to MSW, curbside MSW collection. So do residents in your municipality have access to curbside MSW collection? Yes. In this case, yes. And if you do, then of course you're given all the questions about how that service is delivered and service characteristics. If you say no, very short, move on to the next page. So I'm going to say yes so I can see all the questions. The first question is to describe your curbside program. So how are services provided? If services are provided by your municipality, check that first option. Services might be provided by the county, so you can use that option, or maybe services provided by an open market system. In this example, I'm going to say services provided by my municipality. Now, when it's my municipality that's providing the service, then I'm going to have a lot of details, for example, about service providers and, collection types and of materials and containers and that type of thing, contamination. If service is provided by another county, for example, I won't have all that information. So you're going to see this survey is quite short. There's not a lot of information here. And if it's provided by an open market system, you may or may not have some of those details, like materials collected or tonnage, but you're still going to be asked. If you have it, you can enter it. So I'm going to go with the first option because that gives me kind of the most robust kind of form. All the questions are enabled at this point, but you'll see based on the answer to this question, different sections in the form will appear. Now, the first question is going to be, how many households are served by that program? So it's going to default to all, that, everybody in your municipality or all households have access to curbside services. But maybe, for example, only some do. Maybe you don't offer all single family households. So if not all, then you can put in the number here, otherwise select all. This number will then be used to calculate your pounds per household reports and things like that. When you're providing the service, it's going to want to know who your service providers are. So maybe it's whatever, ABC hauling. and maybe they're a contracted hauler, you have a contract with them. Here is how the residents receive the service. So maybe it's automatic. They don't have to do anything. They just get it. Some services, for example, organics or recycling, there might be an opt-in or a fee associated. So you can choose a different option for those. I'm going to say this is automatic. The fee does not have a red asterisk, so I don't have to enter that. But if you know what the typical fee is, you can put it there. Collection type. So is it automated, semi-automatic, or semi-automated or manual? I'm going to say automatic. And collection frequency, here you can say it's weekly, twice per week, so forth. Here's an example of some definitions, for example. If you want to see what the different terms used in that table are, you can reference the definitions page. And here are some questions related to volume-based pickup. So maybe you don't have that. Do you know your tipping fee? You might have an exact number, or maybe you don't know the exact number. You're just going to put in a range. That's fine. Or maybe you don't know it at all. In the next section is about the containers in your curbside MSW collection. So do you just use roll carts? Maybe use different types of containers, so you can check as many as you need here. If you select roll carts, then it's going to ask you who provides the roll carts. So maybe the residents have to purchase them on their own, or maybe the municipality owns them. Maybe you rent them, or maybe they're provided by the service provider. Or maybe you just don't know. Then what kind of roll carts do you use? There's different sizes, so you can select as many here as you need. The next section is going to ask about tonnage. In the tonnage section, you'll be able to say, yes, you have tonnage for all MSW collected through your single family program. So yes, you can provide annual tons. So a single number representing all tonnage from single family MSW. Sometimes you might get a tonnage report, but it'll include single family MSW tonnage as well as tonnage from other programs. So if that's the case, use this option. And so here you'll say my tonnage is combined with another program. So maybe my single family and my multifamily tonnage, MSW tonnage, is combined. So I would mark that off. Or maybe it's combined with drop-off MSW tonnage. So there could be multiple programs that it could be combined with. If that is the case, what you're going to enter here when it asks you for your single family tonnage is the total amount collected. So this would be the amount collected through single family, multifamily, and drop-off. And then you would say how much is estimated as a percentage that's curbside. So maybe 50% or 70%, 80%, and it would then calculate the tonnage based on that. So if I say I collect 55,000 tons for the year, but that includes drop-off and multifamily, then maybe only 40% of this is residential curbside. So it will adjust your tonnage number based on that. What we're trying to get here is the true number that represents curbside MSW. The other option is if it's combined with another municipality. So say, for example, you're two separate municipalities, but you share MSW collection service between you. So you're getting a tonnage report that's including tonnage numbers from another municipality. So here you would put in the tonnage number, and then how much is your, how much would be considered yours. So maybe 50-50, or maybe, your collects more municipality or collects more MSW from your municipality. You can adjust the percentage. Or maybe you just don't even have tonnage. So there you go. You can select that option as well. So I'm going to say, yes, I have tonnage. I'm going to do a single number. I'm going to do whatever, 42,000 tons. And is it representing the calendar year? Yes. If it doesn't represent the calendar year, like maybe your tonnage report is based on a fiscal year, then you can put in the 12-month range that it represents. How do you calculate the tonnage? Do you get weight records? Or how are these being calculated? So I'll say weight records. And how are you getting the weight records? Who provides them? And if you have tonnage data available for your multifamily collection. So you may or may not have that, but if you do, you can say yes, if not, say no. And then back to my save button down at the bottom. And it's going to save. And if you notice, boom, took me over here now to page 3. No errors. All my required fields were met. No problem. All right, page 3 looks at single-family curbside recycling. So this is all about your recycling program. So first of all, do residents have access to curbside recycling? If you say yes, you're going to get lots of options. If you say no, you're pretty much done and you can move on. So we're going to say yes. Similar to the MSW page, how are services provided? So in this case, it's an open market, or is it provided by a municipality or your municipality or maybe a county? How many households are served by the program, all or a subset? How many years has the program been operating? So maybe, 6 to 10 years. Service provider information. So maybe this is whatever, XYZ recycling, and it's maybe contracted, and it's maybe they have to opt in for it, but there's no fee. So, but they have to actually physically opt in. Maybe it's semi-automatic, and collection frequencies weekly. Now, it could be possible to have multiple service providers within a single municipality or county. So within your county, you might use different service providers. So you'll see the option here to add. So if that's the case, then you can click add and add the second recycling service provider, because maybe one service provider services one area and another one services another. So here you can enter in all the different service providers that might be used within your municipality, county, or regional agency. Clicking the remove button obviously takes it away. What type of recycling do you offer? So is it single stream, dual stream, that kind of thing? So I'm going to go single stream. And what kind of containers are you using? So bins and roll carts are used. Who's responsible for the containers? Kind of similar questions to the other ones. Maybe they're provided by the service provider. What size of containers? So all about the containers used for that program. Here is some information about set out and participation rates. So again, if you don't track set out rates, say I don't know or no. Same with participation rates, say I don't know or no. Or if you say yes, then you can put your participation rate information in here, and you'll be able to see the definitions here down below, or say I don't know. So here for the set out rate, yes, you can provide it, or no, you can't. Now, I'm going to see. This is actually one of those questions where if you don't currently track set out rates, or you say I don't know, that you'll be given a program recommendation on how to start tracking set out rates. So I kind of mentioned that recommendations report, and this is also one of the triggers that will trigger a recommendation for your program. In the next section, we're going to see the contamination details for the single-family curbside recycling program for your municipality. So do you know your contamination rate? Maybe you know an average here. Maybe it's approximation, you're not sure, but somewhere between there, between a range there. I'm going to pick that one. I'm going to say it's pretty high. Here, it'll say, do you engage in any contamination control activities? Yes or no. If you say yes, it'll ask you what kind of activities you engage in. If you say no, it'll just skip that. And then what kind of problematic materials. So for example, you have, what are your highest kind of contaminants here? So I'm going to say plastic bags and textiles are a problem for my municipality. The next section is related to materials accepted in my municipality. So here I could go ahead and say yes, no, or I don't know to all the different paper types. If I say other paper, if I say yes, I'm asked what kinds of other paper. And if there's any exceptions to the paper. So maybe you don't take wax coated paper or wallpaper, I don't know, but that would be an exception. Here's all the plastics. So lots of plastics here to choose from. Lots of different types of resins. And down at the bottom, again, there's other plastics as well as plastic exceptions. And nice thing about this section is it has all the definitions of the plastic types. So here's all the different types, as well as practical examples, like what does this mean, right? Tea, juice, and beverage containers, ketchup, mustard, syrups, that kind of thing. Egg cartons, right? So when you see the different types of plastic, it gives you examples of the items that are included in that type. Glass containers here, as well as metal. Now, there's a section here about ordinances. So if there is an ordinance, if you have an ordinance for recycling in your municipality, yes, no, or I don't know, and what kind of ordinance do you have? So I have a statute and for mandatory recycling, so I can put information about my statute. Maybe you have a link referencing it on your web page or something like that. It would be great information to add here. Now, lastly, as we move through the curbside recycling assessment, there is a tonnage section. So here, similar to the MSW, you can enter your tons collected. Is it combined with other programs? Is it combined with another municipality? For recycling, you even have the option, if you've got the details, to enter tonnage by material category. So how much paper, plastic, glass, and metal you have. So there's a few options here for tonnage, or of course, if you don't have tonnage, select that. I'm going to go with total tons, and I'm going to say there's 15,200 tons of recycling collected. Does your tonnage represent the calendar year? How do you calculate the tonnage? Who provides the weight records? That type of thing. So very similar to the page 2 tonnage. And some other information. Tell us about your story. So any details you might want to share about how you deliver your single-family curbside recycling would be great to input in here. I'm going to go save. You're going to see it turned green, which is awesome. There we go. We're almost there. Page 4 is about your multifamily recycling program. So if you don't have one, or I guess the first question is, do you have a specific program offering recycling services to multifamily households? So if you do yes, then you're going to be given, again, a lot of questions. Maybe your multifamily recycling is offered by an open market system. It's not delivered by your municipality. It's not delivered by the county. It's a private system that operates it. Then that's fine. Or you can say no, or I don't know, obviously. So I'm going to go with the private open market system here. When I'm selecting this option, I still have the option to say how many households served. So maybe if you know that the private open market system serves how many multifamily units, then you can put a number in here. Or you can say all, if you know all of them are served, or I don't know. And then information about local ordinances for multifamily recycling. And if you have tonnage. Now, you may or may not have tonnage if you're not delivering the program. Maybe you're not provided with tonnage reports for multifamily, then you can just say no. Obviously, if you do have tonnage for that recycling, it'd be great to enter it in here. Certainly would help with calculations such as diversion rates and things like that when we get to the analytics. So I am going to say I don't have an ordinance and I don't have tonnage, so very short form here. Go ahead and click save. Oops, I do have an error. So where's my error? Oh, I didn't say how many. I said, sorry, whoops. I said, maybe I should say, I don't know how many households are served by that program instead of a subset. And I'll click save. Then it takes me to page 5. Okay, so this is the last page that's got quite a bit of detail on it, but this is all about how organic materials collected. So organic could be food waste or yard waste. Your services could be provided by the same service provider. You might have different service providers for food waste or yard waste. So here we need to sort of characterize what your residents have access to. So they have access to yard waste collection only. They have access to both yard waste and food waste, curbside. So that'll ask questions about both of those programs. Or maybe they only have access to food waste, or they don't have access to any organics collection. So obviously the form gets very short at that point. I'm going to go with the second option because that's going to give me the most questions here. So when I select this, I'm going to be able to provide yard waste collection details separate from food waste collection. So there might be different frequencies, different containers. It could be different service providers, that type of thing. So the first question is about the household. So similar to all the other pages, you're asked how many households have access to these collections. So you can say all or a subset, depending on what the households that are accessing these programs. And then now it wants to know how your services are delivered. So are they delivered by your municipality? In which case you'll be able to enter in all of your service provider information. Maybe the county provides yard waste collection for your municipality, so then you can enter the county's name here. Maybe it's provided by an open market system, so there's no oversight, or maybe there's a combination of services. So for example, yard waste, it might be provided by the county and the municipality. So if you select this, then you'll be given options to enter details for both. So yeah, let's keep that option selected, and we'll go with that. If this was a county survey, this would be very common, because within a county, a whole county, you might have yard waste services being delivered by multiple agencies. So some might use a private agency, the county does actually provide those services, and then the municipality can also provide it. So this is a good option if you're a county where there's a combination of service providers. Let's see. Then we get, of course, the service provider information. So whatever ABC composting is publicly operated. Collection is provided with automatically yard waste collection. There's a fee collection type, maybe it's manual, and frequency. Now, when it comes to frequency here, we're going to say weekly, but you might be a municipality where you only offer yard waste during certain times of year. So this doesn't necessarily mean weekly all year. So I just want to point out that this collection frequency means what is the frequency when the program is actually running. There will be an option down below that'll ask if your municipality operates this program year-round or only on specific months. So when it's operating, collection is weekly. That's what I'm going to put here. What types of containers? So maybe for yard waste, you use bags. Maybe they can use loose bundles of branches or whatever other. You can put that in there. If you select bags, for example, it asks what kind of bag. So maybe you'll only accept it if it's in a paper bag. You won't accept the compostable plastic or the regular plastic bags. Or maybe you can select them all, whatever. Scrolling down here you have the option to select what type of materials are collected in your yard waste. So I'm going to say leaves and garden debris are collected, but I don't do branches or other yard waste. So no twigs, branches, or other materials. If you did select other, then you'd have the option to enter what that means. Scrolling down, yard waste tonnage. So yes, I can provide total tons of yard waste collected through my curbside program. Maybe my curbside yard waste is combined with food waste tonnage or tonnage from other programs. So similar to those other questions, I can select those other programs. My tonnage is combined with another municipality. So again, I can say how much represents mine if your municipalities share yard waste collection, or no, I don't have tonnage. So I'm going to do total tons here for yard waste. I'm going to say, I don't know, We're going to say 15,000 tons of yard waste. Does it represent the calendar year? How do you calculate it? Who provides the weight records? And so forth. Similar questions to the previous pages. Now you're going to see a section related to food waste collection. So here, food waste might be provided by an open market system. So I don't have all the details of things like the containers. I don't have all the details. It's about the fees and about how many households and that type of thing might have access to the service. So this is basically you're just given the option to enter tonnage if you have it. You may or may not have tonnage because if it's operated by an open market system, you might not be able to get the tonnage. But if you can, of course, you'll want to enter it. So maybe I do know the tons. It's going to be whatever 1,000 tons of your food waste that has been collected. Now, of course, if you said that it's operated by your municipality, I just want to show you, then you get all the questions, right? Is it the same service provider as above? If you say no, then it's going to ask you service provider. If it's the same service provider, great. But maybe it's a separate service provider. Maybe you have multiple service providers for food waste. So this is where you can get all those details, right? Is food waste and yard waste in the same container? If you say no, then it's going to ask you all the different container types, right? That we saw on the previous pages. If it's a food waste program that's operated by your municipality, then you'll have details on the types of materials that you collect. So here's the material list you can go through. So you'll see there's a lot more details to add if the program is operated by the municipality or the county. I'm just going to change that back to that one. Anyway, so here I can enter my tonnage and say, yes, it represents that. I get weight records from my private site, and that's that. And here you can put in information related to other details about how organics is collected. And again, tell us your story. So when I click save, now it's going to take me to the last page here where I can go ahead and put in my name, MMP user. I can certify that the information is correct, and I have that tell me about your experience section. So, please feel free to enter information in here about how we can improve our surveys for the future, and go ahead and click save. Now, even though I've saved it, there are no errors. I might not be ready to complete it because, as I mentioned, when you mark it as complete, you cannot make any changes. So just because all of the required fields are met doesn't mean necessarily I want to mark it as complete. Maybe I have to go back and check a couple things. Maybe I just want to do a double check on some of my tonnage numbers or something like that. So I could save it as a draft. I'll just go ahead and do that. I can save it as a draft, and back on my workspace now, I'm going to see it as draft. So just so you know, even though it's all the required fields are met, I can still leave it in draft status if I need to go back at any time and edit it. So I'm going to open up the draft now. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to now mark it as complete. So that's completed, and now I won't be able to edit it, and it'll be ready for the recycling partnership to verify. The next survey here we're going to look at is this draft of the drop-off assessment. So here, I'm going to say that I don't operate any drop-offs. So this is, you might think, well, I don't operate any drop-offs. Why do I even need to open this form? It's really good to just say no, that you don't have that, that service. So even if the service isn't provided, saying no and saying, yes, this is great. This is the information that I have, and I'm certifying I don't have that drop-off. Save it, mark it as complete anyway. So sometimes you're opening these forms and you might think, why would I open that if I don't have a drop-off? But letting us know that you don't have it is just as important as letting us know if you do. And of course, if you did have a drop-off, then you would be able to enter tonnage information for the materials. You would be able to identify what materials are accepted, how many drop-offs accept each type of material, all the details about that. And again, all those tonnage numbers that you'll be using to enter into there will get rolled up into your reports and help with your diversion rate reports and all that kind of stuff. The Public Space Assessment Survey, excuse me, will show you or will ask you information about what public space trash bins you might have, as well as recycling bins. So if you do offer trash bins and recycling bins in public spaces, then select yes and follow the questions here. So the biggest information is tonnage. Do you have that tonnage or no? And if you do have the tonnage, then of course it gets rolled up into those reports. And even with recycling, you're able to, and the MSW collection of public space, tell us about how it operates. So for example, are your containers paired together? You know, what percentage are? What kind of containers do you use in public space environments? What kind of public spaces do you put these bins in? So there's lots of different options there. I'm going to say no, I don't have any public space collection. So again, saying no and saving and marking as complete is just as important as entering all the details, because now we know that you don't offer those services to your residents. Lastly is the Processing Facilities Assessment, which I did mention is important for the environmental benefits of recycling report. Here, you're going to be able to identify how the materials in your municipality are processed. So, you know, what types of facilities are used to process your materials. So maybe you send items to a landfill, maybe you work with a MRF, as well as maybe a organics processor. And how do you work with them? Do you own the landfill? Do you contract with the landfill? Is it your hauler that contracts? So you might own a landfill. What's the landfill name? The tipping fee, tons per day. You might own multiple landfills. So you would just use add and add all the landfills here. Or maybe it's, maybe your hauler has a contract with the landfill and you don't have all the details. And then how do you work with your material recovery facilities? Do you own it? Do you have a direct contract with it? You know, does your hauler have a contract with it? So you can put that information in. And of course, for source separated organics, again, the facility owns it, or the municipality owns it or contracts with it. Last section is providing information on how your MSW is disposed. So yes, you can provide the material activity. So here's the different activities that you can processing activities for landfills. And you'd say, okay, 100% of it is landfilled, or maybe, you know, 60% is landfilled, regular landfill, and 40 is used with flaring. None here. Whoops, none there, none there. So put in zeros if it doesn't apply. This should end up at being 100%. Definitions are below. And again, for recycling activities. So of all the recycling material that's collected, is there any donated? How much of it is actually recycled? So maybe 70% is recycled, and then maybe 30% is disposed. And organics. So the different activities here. So maybe 100% of it is composted and mulched. And then the save button all the way here at the bottom. Oh, I do have an error. Oh, whoops, I didn't enter zeros. So sorry. These are required fields. So even though I said 100% is composted, I have to enter zeros here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save again and mark it as complete. So now if I go back to my workspace, or it automatically takes me to my workspace, I see all 5 surveys are complete. It's awesome. So completing the surveys is a big step. But once you do that, you get access to these analytical reports. So the analytical reports, I'll just highlight them here. I won't go through all the details of all of them. Again, you can visit the municipalmeasurement.com website for information about these reports. But if you want, you can just start generating them after you've completed your surveys. So we have some diversion rate reports for 2021 data. I just entered data for my 2021 reporting year. And so I can get my all programs diversion rate. Or maybe I just want to see diversion rate related to public space recycling or drop off. So I could, choose the program and click generate. So here I can see I'm at 29.63% diversion rate. Tells me how many tons were diverted, how many tons were disposed in 2021, and just a little table at the bottom with that information. And then here's all the materials that were included in this calculation. A lot of our reports you can print to PDF, or clicking here if you want, you can export just single reports. But up at the top is where you can print the whole thing to PDF. The tonnage report's very similar. I can get tonnage reports for all programs for 2021, or here you can see it broken out by the different programs, so you can see what I have tons for. You'll notice I didn't enter any drop-off tons because I didn't have a drop-off program. So also I said that there was no multifamily program, so that's why I don't have any multifamily tonnage as well. So my curbside programs, here's my drop-off programs. If I had tonnage, you'd see it there. And my public space programs, if I had tonnage, obviously I would see it there as well. One of the reports that's really nice if you have multiple years of reporting is the annual trend. So I'm going to say, whatever, this guy started in 2018 to 2021, and I just want to do a trend for my tonnage trends. So I can see here through the years, my recycling has gone very high from 2020 to 2021 here. And I can see the breakdown of different materials over the years that I've selected. Economic benefits of recycling uses the recycling tonnage to be able to calculate the benefits of recycling. This is using the EPA Worm Model standard here, so you can reference how these calculations are being done. But based on the amount of tons recycled reported in the survey, based on the different variables here, it'll calculate how many jobs were impacted, wages attributed, and tax estimated tax revenue based on that tonnage. Per capita tonnage will just tell you based on your population numbers, your tonnage breakout, performance summary. This one is actually really quite nice. It's just a bunch of infographics about the program that you can do all key metrics here. Your diversion rate for all programs, your curbside diversion rate versus drop-off versus public space, your total recycling tons, pounds per household, MSW pounds per household, organics pounds per household, and your contamination rate is right in here too. So that's pretty helpful. If you don't want all the metrics, you can select which ones are important to you and just generate the report based on that data. Here's the environmental benefits of recycling report. Of course, I would need to have known how the materials were processed, which I did actually do. So let's see if I can generate this. So when you're generating this, here's the different metrics that you can choose. So passenger cars taken off the road for a year. Based on my tonnage, that's how many passenger cars are taken off the road through the tons that I've diverted, disposed, and here's the CO2 equivalents. And then here's the information where the tonnage is coming from and the actual CO2 equivalents for each item. The metric tons CO2. Okay. Yeah, so those are some great reports. There's some benchmarking reports here as well. If you want to compare your performance to other members in the MMP, so against your peer groups, or if you just want to see how your single-family curbside recycling compares to the US national average, you can do that here. So you can see from my little community, I'm above the national average, which is 440 pounds per household. And that was based on, I believe, the 2020 State of Curbside Recycling report from the Recycling Partnership. Lastly, are the program recommendations. So I've talked about that kind of through the program, where one of the benefits of the MMP is being able to generate program recommendations. And I mentioned when we're filling out the surveys that there's certain questions, and depending on the answers to the questions, they will generate these recommendations. So let's see if I can get some recommendations to come up here. Ooh, whoops, no recommendations. Oh, here we go. For 2020, I got some. So for 2020, here's a recommendation. Here I can look at the 2020 State of Curbside Recycling report. Here, oh, right, I said that I didn't track set out rates. So I answered, I don't know, to the question, do you know your set out rates? So here I can click on this link to learn more about how to do that. And another recommendation here, I answered no to, do you engage in curbside contamination control activities? And so maybe I should. So here's a link to access the kit to be able to learn how to engage in those activities. So these recommendations will be generated for you based on the answers to your questions in the survey. All right, well, going back to my analytics, going back to the workspace, I think I've covered everything that I want to cover for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and thank you for participating in the MMP. If you have any questions at all, I'll just go back to our PowerPoint here. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to us at mmp.retrac.com. We'll be happy to answer your questions and help you through the surveys if needed. Have a great day.